Hey, what up? This is Zach Guilford from Midnight Mass, and you're listening to one of my favorite podcasts, Pop Culture Pastor.
Pop Culture Pastor.
So, Dave, I think I have become too big for the show. This might be my last episode.
Well, it's been great to have you as a teammate, and we just want to wish you well on your way, and we're going to talk trash after you leave.
Sounds about right. You might be wondering why I'm so jacked up about, why I'm a big deal now.
I'm certainly curious.
Yes. So I had a celebrity retweet me.
Oh,
Monday night.
okay. Which celebrity might that have been?
Someone big from Monday Night Raw, buddy.
Oh, a wrestler.
Yes.
Okay. Who was it? Don't leave us in the dark here.
R-Truth.
Oh.
And you're like, I don't know who R-Truth is. Well, that's on you, buddy.
I have heard of him, but from you.
Yes. So yeah, he's been battling to join the Judgment Day, and they were like, no, you can't join us. And then he did like this interview before Raw kicked off, and they aired it during Raw, and then I retweeted it with like a caption that was very funny, and that I was wishing him well, and I hope that he can learn to live, laugh, and love again. And he retweeted it.
Very nice.
So yeah,
Can you give me like the 45-second version of what exactly is going on with the WWE right now? Because like, I assume there's something big going on. I know that what's his name is bad.
okay.
And I know that The Rock is back, but it's so like, correct me if I'm wrong. Here's what I can gather from Twitter. That the WWE, that Vince McMahon's the worst dude ever.
he is.
And that somehow, some way, the WWE is maybe enjoying kind of a renaissance all at the same time. Is that because of The Rock? Is that what's happening?
Okay, so Vince McMahon has sexual assault allegations and lawsuits pending, and
Of course he does.
so he's out of the WWE completely, but they were already bought out by the people that own the UFC.
Okay.
And so they just kicked him off the board. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson joins the board, but then also announces he's back. And everyone thought he was going to fight the champion, which is Roman Reigns, his cousin. And then they have completely flipped the script, and it's now Cody Rhodes might be fighting Roman Reigns, and somehow The Rock will play a factor in it, and no one knows exactly what's going on.
Wait, are you telling me that The Rock changed the hierarchy in the WWE? Is that what happened? Is that what you're telling me? Did he do it?
He changes the hierarchy wherever he goes.
Well, looky there. I've been seeing clips of The Rock
Yes.
on wrestling, and it's like he never left.
So
Dude's an amazing. Is he one of the best performers in professional wrestling of all time?
he definitely cuts the best promos.
Yeah.
I think we're so far removed from the Attitude Era that now he just comes across as a legitimate heel, and I'm loving it.
Yeah. I have to say, the clips I've seen make me want to start watching. And that's saying something, because I am not into wrestling in any way currently.
Indeed.
But those clips make, like, Rock as a heel, it gives me NWO vibes. It gives me the same vibes when Hulk Hogan turned heel.
Yeah, especially since like the past 15 years, whenever The Rock comes back, it's like, hi fans, I missed you, you missed me, hugs and stuff.
Yeah.
But now it's, you're a jabroni, and I love it.
Well, this is Pop Culture Pastor,
Yes.
the podcast. If you're wondering, my name is Dave. Cody's here.
Still here, shockingly.
Cody's kind of leading the news segment here. So we started off with that little bit there that he got retweeted.
Yeah, I
do you
did.
have any real news for us, or just the fake news
No, that was real news.
of you being a celebrity?
So, in the way of real news, evidently there is a spin-off to one of your favorite 80s movies of all time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, let's talk about this. Is it okay? I'll go ahead.
Okay, so there will be a movie directed by David Katzenberg titled Sam and Victor's Day Off, which is a spin-off of Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Tell everyone who Sam and Victor are.
That is a good question. It will follow the same day adventure of the valets who took the Ferrari on a joyride.
This is the most unnecessary spin-off. Like, what? See, some Hollywood exec was like, had it on TNT one day, and Ferris Bueller came on, and he saw that scene, and he was like, you know what? That's a movie. That's a movie, and we're going to make that movie about these two guys. Like... we don't need that. Do we? We don't need it.
No one needs it. I didn't want it. Don't need it.
They have the car for like what? An hour and a half of real time?
Allegedly.
So we're just going to see their whole day. And that's going to be in the middle of it somewhere.
Yes.
But like for the first half of the day, presumably they're valeting.
And then do we have bad CGI to make the Ferris Bueller crew?
Yeah, well, right. Yeah, so you going to put like bad CGI basically. That would be horrific. Don't do that. Don't.
Just recast it.
Could you? I mean, I suppose you could find people that looked kind of like them. They must be out there, doppelgangers. That would be better than, please do not CGI Ferris Bueller. Please. Again, I say that would be horrific. Do not do that. It sounds like just on the surface, I'm like, yeah, I've seen this movie already. It's called Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Lived it.
Which was entertaining, don't get me wrong, but like how many of these... Like, am I wrong? Is that like which you kind of gather is going to be the feel of a movie? Like they're going to basically steal a car, and they're just going to have like this weird day.
Honestly, I would be more into a movie about Key and Peele, because they had a segment that they were valets, but they would talk pop culture. Yeah. And they would go off on these epic rants, and I'd rather watch a movie about that.
Well, if I'm being honest, there's at least 4 characters in Ferris Bueller's Day Off that I would be more interested in a spinoff. Number 1, the secretary at the school. She's way more interesting. Number 2, Ferris's older sister, and Charlie Sheen together.
Yes,
those two. Number 3, obviously Ben Stein, the teacher. Bueller.
I still want to win Ben Stein's money.
Yeah. Does Ben Stein have a lot of money?
I don't know. He had a game show where he was giving it away.
All right. Yep. That's questionable. Next news item.
So, John Wick was going to have a sequel come out this year.
He's already had 2 of them.
Well,
3 of them.
It's a spin-off sequel, the Ballerina.
Okay,
but
yeah,
it gets pushed back a whole year to 2025.
The writer strikes again?
No. Allegedly. Now, it could be partially due to the writer strike, but it is getting pushed because the reboot of The Crow comes out this summer, June 7th, which was the targeted time for the Ballerina, but
they don't want to compete.
They don't want to compete with The Crow reboot. Now, are you aware of The Crow reboot?
I'm not.
Okay, so Bill Skarsgård will be as the main character.
Wow.
Eric Draven. And this will be a reboot that is finished, and we don't have to worry about the tragedy that followed the original or encompassed the original.
Who's FKA Twigs?
That is
she's also in this. But
yes,
that can't be her real name.
That is her stage name.
Oh, okay. So she's a pop star.
I think hip hop.
All right. All right. You know what? I never was really into The Crow. And I know it had like this kind of legendary mystical status, especially after Lee's accident.
Yes.
Which was very sad.
Very much so.
I remember that being really sad because Brandon Lee had, a bright future. Bright future.
He had the look. He had the genes.
And it was a lot like, reminiscent of the whole Alec Baldwin, Western thing, where there was an accident on set and he died. And that was, it was brutal. But then I don't think that movie gets like this cult status without that happening, though.
Okay, so I was going to ask.
Because that really drove that movie.
Are you ready for like the diehards to say that the original was so much better, even though I have a feeling this is going to be so much more a complete movie? Because when you know the backstory and you know that they weren't done shooting The Crow when Brandon Lee passes away, that they have to change kind of the story plot somewhat. And you watch it with like fresh eyes, you're like, this doesn't really hold up that well.
Yeah. What I said was that's a controversial take.
Yes.
I fully understand.
There's people that love this movie.
And I was young, but from my perspective, I seem to remember the hit. Like there was just sort of this massive, like kind of groundswell of media attention that movie got after that happened. Mm-hmm. And that at least partially caused more people to see it than probably would have seen it, because it was based on a comic book that was
not super
indie
popular.
Comic book. Yeah, it wasn't a big seller. It wasn't Marvel or DC, and of course, comic book movies at that time weren't
a thing,
super popular. But yeah, I don't know. I'm interested. Like Bill Skarsgård.
Yes, I think that it has some serious potential to be good. I just think there will be a lot of backlash and conflict over whether or not it's good, just because there is this sentiment attached to the original because of the passing of the main actor.
Well, and you know why they're remaking this? Because it's very John Wick-like. So the whole story is about revenge, vengeance, spirit of vengeance, that type of thing. So it's very John Wick-like. And I'm assuming that's why they thought, we'll go ahead and remake this movie now. We'll make millions.
I also think that it's long enough past,
yeah, that's true.
The main character or the original's release and Brandon Lee's death. Also, like the remaking Blade. And Blade comes out not super long after, a handful of years.
That's a good point, because I should point out that even though I think that his death caused more people to see it, it also hamstrung what it could have been. And they did make sequels to that with someone else.
And no one cared to watch them. Yeah. And the main bad guy from the original, I just saw him in a movie not that long ago. It was called Nope. He was the cinematographer dude that had to get the perfect shot.
Yeah.
That deep, gravelly voice, like throughout the whole movie Nope, I'm like, I know this voice. Yeah. And then it dawned on me, that's the bad guy from The Crow. Huh. Yeah. So
interesting.
And then final news story.
Yeah.
It finally is happening. This week, well, it'll be a day released by the point that you all are listening.
Taco Bell's bringing back extreme nachos.
I don't know that.
No, okay, that's not it. All right. I was just hopeful.
Live action, Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Okay, yeah. You're a big fan.
There are millions and millions of people that are big fans.
You worried about this?
So I talked with Scotty, and everything Scotty's hearing and seeing, he is hopeful. My only issue was that the creators were on board with it until then
they bailed.
They bailed.
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
But I also think they might be a little full of themselves.
Okay.
So I'm eager to watch. I'm also intrigued if we might do a watch along on it. God only knows.
Hey, I am open to it. I know nothing about Avatar: The Last Airbender.
This starts at the very beginning.
Yeah, I'd be going in completely fresh. So let's do this. Listeners, if you want watch-alongs, we do these episodes called watch-alongs where we go an episode at a time each week. And if you want, they're about half an hour. And if you want a watch-alongs, us to do watch-alongs, then comment on the social media page. In fact, now would be a good time to just tell you, it really helps us if you subscribe to the pod, if you share our posts, share the pod posts, tell people on your news feed why you like it, review the pod. If whatever, you're on, you can give it 5 stars. And if you can write a little something, talk us up. That helps too. Because we need the help. If you love the pod, if you like listening, then you can always help and be a part of the team. Be part of the home team.
Please and thank you.
So yeah, if you want us to do a watch along on Avatar: The Last Airbender, I assume they drop it all at once.
Netflix will, yes.
Yeah, but we'll take it 1 week, 1 episode. That's how we'll do it.
Can't binge quality.
Yeah. So let us know. Is that all the news we got?
That is all the news I have listed.
You're the man. Well done.
Thank you.
That was a solid intro and news segment. All right. We are doing another Be Kind Rewind. This was at the behest of the listeners. We gave them the choice. We could review Madam Web.
Her web connects us all.
Or we could do a Be Kind Rewind on Batman Forever. And I think most of the votes were under the kind of the feeling of, we'll be kind to you and tell you can do Batman Forever and not have to go see Madam Web. Although, I really would like to see Madam Web. It sounds so bad.
If it's still here this weekend, I will be partaking.
Yeah, we might have to go see it. All right, we're going to be right back, and we'll get into this week's episode of Be Kind Rewind on Batman Forever. All right, we're back. It's time. It's a Be Kind Rewind, and we are talking about Batman Forever. Batman Forever. Here,
yes.
40% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's rude.
Is it though?
It is.
Here is the synopsis. Batman, played by Val Kilmer, faces off against 2 foes. The schizophrenic, horribly scarred former district attorney Harvey Dent, a.k.a. Two-Face, played by Tommy Lee Jones, and the Riddler, played by Jim Carrey, a disgruntled ex-Wayne Enterprises inventor seeking revenge against his former employer by unleashing his brain-sucking weapon on Gotham City's residents. Literally, it's a brain-sucking weapon. That is the best description.
Nailed it.
As the Cape Crusader also deals with tortured memories of his parents' murder, he has a new romance with psychologist Chase Meridian, which I'm fairly sure is a bank name. Isn't that a name of a bank?
Chase is.
I think the full name of Chase Bank is Chase Meridian. Maybe not. Maybe I made that up. She's played by Nicole Kidman. Released in June 16th, 1995. Cost $100 million to make, which back then, that was some money.
DC would have spent like $400 million making it.
Made $336.5 million, which, listen,
Bank.
In 1995 standards, that is monster. That's a monster hit.
Can I read you the tagline?
Oh, please read me the tagline.
Half a face and some riddles ain't nothing for the night. In a chaotic time, justice wears a mask. Courage now, truth always. Batman Forever.
All right. Oh, man. Where do we even begin?
How epically awesome this is.
Let's start off with the broad take of this movie. And I want to kind of explain, like, these movies were huge, bro.
Oh, you don't have to tell Cody, I have Batman pajamas.
Yeah, dude. Merchandising. It's
Bed
Spaceballs.
sheets.
Merchandising.
Yes. Action figures. I have it.
Literally, my favorite part of this movie is the tie-in with McDonald's. They had mugs,
Yeah.
which you can find all over eBay right now. I looked. But more importantly, the Hero Burger, which was just fantastic. And I badly wish they would bring it back. I know I've talked about it on the pod before, but basically it was on a hoagie bun instead of your regular hamburger bun. And it had multiple, I think it had 3 hamburger patties and 2 different kinds of cheeses and some sauce. I don't even know what they called it because McDonald's sauces taste like nothing else out there. It was literally heaven, also probably a heart attack, but I'm still here. I'm still kicking. I ate a lot of those Hero Burgers.
You got to risk it for the biscuit.
My favorite part of Batman Forever, the Hero Burger at McDonald's tie-in.
I'm going to do a spoiler. My favorite part is clearly going to be Val Kilmer.
Yeah, well, I knew that.
Every moment of Val.
Yeah, I know. This is why. I know this is why you wanted to do this movie, and I respect your Val Kilmer, that you're a Val Kilmer stan, and you're going to stand for Val, and that's cool. I respect it. Even after watching this movie, you're going to still stand for Val in this movie.
Yes.
Listen, I'm not going to. Val Kilmer is a great actor. He's amazing.
He carries this movie.
Just not in this movie.
He carries it. I'm going to have a hot take, and people are going to be like, "You for real?" And I'll be like, "You betcha."
Okay. All right. Well, let's start off with what holds up, my man. What holds up?
What holds up is, you know what? I just really think that the Batman story of having this difficult time managing Bruce Wayne and being the Bat, that still holds up. That he can't fully be himself in either person or either entity. He finds it challenging managing the two and letting people in.
I will say for this movie, all these. Okay, so just blanket overview for a comic book nerd like me was, and I'm gonna disclose something here that I haven't said. That every time we record, sirens. It's like it's like we're in New York City
or Gotham.
We're in Gotham, live from Gotham. So I saw the 1989 movie, Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, in theaters.
Yes.
And I liked it because, hey, we'd never got listen, Batman had never been done in a non-campy way, which is this television series that everyone remembers with Adam West.
Holy rusted nails, Batman.
Batman. That one. So I liked it, but there was something about it that always bothered me as a comic book fan.
Okay.
And that is that Tim Burton is a terrible choice to do like existing intellectual property.
Yes.
Because Tim Burton comes in and it's not really the property anymore. It's like this weird amalgam of Tim Burtonish type settings and things. And so you can clearly see this in a movie like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which a lot of people liked, but some people hated. There's some people still say, like I saw a meme today about like the problem with the current versions of Willy Wonka is they didn't have Gene Wilder's acting and the tone of that original movie where he looked like he was waiting for one of the kids to die.
Yes.
There was a under the surface kind of sinisterness about the original one with Gene Wilder. And so Tim Burton comes in and does his take on it, and it's Johnny Depp and Tim Burton, and Johnny Depp's being weird, which he's really good at with Tim Burton. And like whatever. I thought it was okay. I didn't hate it.
Yes.
But I was the same way with 1989 Batman. I thought it was okay. I was glad they were doing a comic book movie, but there were parts of it I really didn't like. And as the series goes on, I think they play more and more into the things I didn't like. So let me just say, this is going to astound everybody.
Okay.
Because I am a geek. I'm a self-professed comic geek. Loved comics. I've never seen Batman Returns from beginning to end in one sitting. I didn't go see it in the theater because I didn't like the first one enough. Batman Forever, I watched it today before we can record. First time I've ever watched that from beginning to end.
Holy cannoli.
And Batman and Robin, same way. I've seen pieces of it from it being on television, but I've never watched it from beginning to end.
Oh, you missed out.
Yeah. Did I, though?
I think Batman and Robin has the Madam Web.
Where they lean into this is a joke.
It feels like it, even though I think that they were actually being serious with trying to make it.
I think, okay, so this is real prescient for what I think the studios are struggling with today. I think the problem I had with these movies were, and Batman Forever is a great microcosm of it, because you get Tommy Lee Jones, unbelievable actor, horribly miscast as Two-Face. And then he acts in a way that's like, it's not the Two-Face from the comics. You get Jim Carrey, who's wildly entertaining, but again, so weird. He's more of Jim Carrey. He's the Riddler playing Jim Carrey, right? It's kind of a strange thing, which, that was what they wanted. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of my problem is it seems like these movies were not made by lovers of the comic books. Like, let me look up something real quick.
So Scotty would tell you that those two individuals weren't the original casted individuals, that Billy D. Williams was supposed to be Two-Face, and that
well, because he was Harvey Dent in the first one, right, or the second one, or both of them, I don't know,
and that he was supposed to continue. Marlon Wayans was supposed to be the Riddler.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, just for clarity's sake, 1989, the Tim Burton movie comes out. Do you know what two stories were in the Batman mythos in 1988, the year before it comes out? So the same time these goofy movies are being made, the two big Batman stories in the late 80s are A Killing Joke.
Oh, love The Killing Joke.
And Death in the Family.
Ooh.
And you look at that, what we liked about Batman comics at the time, and then compare it to these movies, and you kind of see what the issue is. And I think my issue with the movies is I just don't feel like these were people who loved the comics. They were Hollywood guys. And I think you're seeing that in Marvel Studios now, where specifically, I want to look at the casting, which we talked about on the last pod, and say, like, do you want a big star? Which these movies clearly did. I mean, like, look, Tommy Lee Jones was coming off The Fugitive. Jim Carrey was the rising star. Nicole Kidman even, rising star. Were they right for their roles? Chris O'Donnell as Robin?
So I will clap back a little bit. Okay. And the issue with Batman, and it's the issue with Superman, is there's like 100 years of comic source material. Mm-hmm. And I might argue that the way especially the Riddler, the way he's portrayed really lines well with earlier iterations.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Where, like, in the 80s, it's a much more dark rogues gallery for Batman. Yeah. And
wouldn't you say, though, if there were popular stories in the comics, you might try to copy that tone? Because that's why Marvel Studios was successful in the Infinity Saga, is those stories are straight from some of our favorite stories.
Well, I'll tell you, DC is thinking, especially at this time, children's toys.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, merchandising's huge in this.
So you can't get too dark. You can't completely turn off the kid viewing audience. And so you got to have it be somewhat lighthearted, over the top, goofy, even though there's serious things happening.
That's true, but also I hear what you're saying, but also there's some random kind of sexual innuendo in this movie, specifically from Jim Carrey's character. That was kind of shocking. I was like, oh gosh.
Well, so I know we're in what holds up, And we haven't really gotten to it.
I'm sorry, I derailed everything, but I felt like everyone should know where I stand in a broad sense, that I didn't grow up with these movies the same way that a lot of people did my age.
Okay, so I grew up with
you were
whole
younger though
franchise.
too, so it would have appealed to younger kids.
As a child of the 80s and 90s.
This comes out in 1995. I am a 18-year-old.
I am 6.
Yeah.
So, yes, this hits right in my wheelhouse. I do enjoy Jim Carrey's interpretation, especially with like the aesthetics that are being portrayed for what the Gotham nightlife looks like. I think you have to go over the top.
Especially in Tim Burton's Gotham.
Yes. And even though it's Joel, Tim's executive producing, and so yeah, that holds up for me. Alfred really holds up.
The great Michael Goff.
Yes. Needed maybe a little bit more Alfred, to be honest. But yeah, loved Alfred in it.
And he gets clocked on the head in this movie.
He does.
Poor guy.
Drew Barrymore's randomly in it.
Mm-hmm.
And what holds up for me, and Scotty pointed this out because I probably would not have said it was the first time, but it's the first time we get Arkham Asylum.
Yes.
In the movies.
Okay, and
I
actually think it's the most awesome depiction of Arkham.
Yes.
In any of the movies.
And this movie focuses a lot on mental health, and there's some things it gets right, and there's some things it gets way wrong. So, like, I'm not saying it's a perfect mental health movie, but like one of the major themes running throughout it is mental health.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you got both characters specifically, and I don't know, this isn't in canon for the Riddler, I don't think, but he specifically is meant to mirror Two-Face in a way where he's clearly a divided mind, in a sense where he's got the part of his mind that's brilliant and is able to come up with complex things. But also he's got the part of his mind that is obsessed with Bruce Wayne, like stalkerish obsessed. Mm-hmm. And that part kind of fits with what they did in the recent Batman.
Yes.
Where the Riddler was very much obsessed with Bruce Wayne, not Batman, Bruce Wayne.
And I think it's Two-Face that says it, but finally someone says something in a Batman movie that I'm like, thank you. And it's during one of the scenes where all the rich people are together, and he's like, for all I know, one of you's Batman. I don't remember if it's Jim Carrey or if it's Tommy Lee Jones, but one of them says it, and I'm like, thank you. Literally, it has to be someone of means.
Yeah, he says it at the circus.
Yes.
At the circus charity event. Yeah, where all the rich people are.
If you are thinking like, oh, this person has some really cool toys, and they have armor that, like, when they get shot, they aren't dead.
Yeah. It's Tommy Lee Jones. It's Two-Face.
Yes.
And he's like literally explains that's why he's at the circus, because it's a charity event, and he says Gotham's finest, and he's like, one of you knows him. Heck, one of you probably is him. Yeah. And so he's basically this is actually good storytelling, because he's essentially answering the question that Joker asked in the first one: where does he get all these wonderful toys?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Two-Face has figured it out.
Where, like, even in Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, we don't really try to piece together, like, it has to be one of these wealthy individuals or someone tied in with a significant crime lord. Yeah.
Well, you notice when there's any attempt at deeper storytelling in this movie, you notice it, because there's just not much. Like Tommy Lee Jones's character, Two-Face, you're not even aware of any tacit connection between them until the end, when he refers to him as Bruce. He calls him Bruce. He said, "I always liked you, Bruce." And then it's not until that moment that the movie gives you any indication that, yes, they did know each other.
They do
because certainly Bruce doesn't say anything about it. Really,
Bruce doesn't, but they do show the clips of Harvey in the courtroom, and then Harvey getting acid thrown at him, and everyone just has acid that they can throw at people in this movie.
Tim Burton's Gotham, man. What do you want, man? Acid was just everywhere. That's the Joker's origin story.
It is
Dropped in a vat of acid, which in this case did not eat away at anything, just turned his skin white, just bleached him.
Poor Harvey. It did eat away.
Yeah. Let's talk about his character design for a minute. Let's not. We're talking about what's good. What else is good? What holds up?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. I have some things. So I tried really hard, even though, as you can tell, I'm not a fan of this movie. I tried really hard to find things I liked about it. Number one, Jim Carrey. Like, Jim Carrey is one of those comedic actors who I think you could put any bland script in front of him and he would make it funny. I don't think all the comic actors can do that. Like, for instance, let's try to put Will Ferrell in that role. If Will Ferrell doesn't have a good script and good directing,
hate this movie so much.
Yeah, do you think he's as funny? No. I think he needs the people around him and he needs the material. I'm not saying he's not talented. Surely he is, but Jim Carrey's just different.
Yes. And Jim Carrey can be serious. If you've watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, there really is not that many hilarious moments in that movie. It's pretty serious and trippy and weird, but he delivers a great performance. And
so right off the top, I may not be a fan of this movie, but let's not get it twisted. Jim Carrey's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. The soundtrack for this movie.
Oh, yes.
So little known thing about the early 90s, mid 90s is soundtracks are kind of dope in this time. Early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, into the mid 90s. You've got U2, Seal's Kiss from a Rose.
Yep.
Is on this. In fact, it doesn't appear in the movie, but the video had Nicole Kidman in it and Val Kilmer had all them. This has got Method Man, PJ Harvey, The Offspring, Michael Hutchence from INXS, The Flaming Lips. The Flaming Lips. Are you kidding me?
The official rock band of Oklahoma.
Nick Cave. I mean, yeah, this soundtrack was dope. And they don't use it much in the movie. But as soon as they start playing the U2 song in the credits, I was like, oh man, I forgot about this soundtrack. It's really, really good. Really good. Do you have anything to add? Were you a soundtrack guy?
Not at this point, but I was also really young.
You were pretty young.
But upon watching this movie, there was a couple of clips that did have music, and I'm like, I need to look that up.
Yeah. I also have written down here Drew Barrymore and Debbie Mazar, who played like Tommy Lee Jones's girlfriends.
Sugar and Spice.
Sugar and Spice. I was gonna say they were. I was gonna call them Baby Spice and Scary Spice because that's essentially the characters they're playing.
Yes.
These characters could have been played by a duffel bag and lingerie, but somehow, some way, they bring like depth to them.
Yes.
And they don't. It's not like they get a lot of lines. But I noticed it. Like Drew Barrymore. Also, watching this, I was reminded of just her longevity. Of like, she's gonna be like when she lives her life and passes on someday, they'll have a big deal. She'll be one of these people who wins a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Cecil B. DeMille at the Academy Awards. I believe that because that's amazing that she's just been around as long as she has.
E.T. on.
Yeah. So I had them written down there because I thought, boy, those were really thin roles that I would remember them. And I even remember the lady, Debbie Mazar, who's not as high profile, but she's been in tons of things. And if you saw her, you'd recognize her.
I was going to say she looked familiar in the movie, but I couldn't place what I had seen her in besides this movie. So
yeah. And the last thing I have on my what holds up, the behind the scenes drama. Love hearing the stories of the behind the scenes drama. So in particular, I think my favorite is that Tommy Lee Jones hated Jim Carrey. Hated him. And in fact, utters this quote to him when Jim Carrey like kind of
bumps into him at a restaurant.
Yeah, he like basically asks him like, dude, why? Why do you hate me? And Tommy Lee says this amazing sentence. I cannot sanction your buffoonery.
Tommy. Yes.
Oh man.
So
Val Kilmer didn't get along with Joel Schumacher. Yeah, tell us all the things. Because you know all these things, right?
Yes.
Scotty definitely knows all the things.
Scotty definitely knows all these things. Val and Joel have it out early on, but Val reels it in, unlike the Island of Dr. Monroe.
Oh, man.
Where that was a complete train wreck.
So bad.
So Val reels it in, but Val also hates the bat suit because it's like 50 to 75 pounds.
Yep, he's uncomfortable.
Very
He's getting
uncomfortable.
a divorce from his wife at this time.
If you haven't watched his documentary, he talks about this movie a little bit in it and some of the behind the scenes stuff. Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones don't get along. They have an epic kind of meeting at a restaurant where Tommy Lee Jones utters the line that you read.
He says to him, I hate you. I really don't like you. Who says that to another human being?
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy.
And so some people think that that's the real reason why Tommy Lee Jones doesn't get along with Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey actually thinks it's because Tommy Lee Jones could not match the energy that was required for the vision for this movie, in particular his own energy, Jim Carrey's.
Yeah.
And in my what's bad, you're going to hear me agree with Jim Carrey.
Well, let's just move into what doesn't hold up, because this might take us a little bit.
Yeah.
What doesn't hold up, Cody?
So yeah, Tommy Lee Jones, the worst.
Is this the worst miscast ever?
Miscast for sure in this movie, and maybe ever. Because like
he's brilliant.
When
a brilliant
he
actor.
tries to play manic and try to match the Jim Carrey energy, it just comes off forced.
Yeah.
And it makes you cringe. But like there's moments where it's his, because he has dissociative identity disorder or multiple personalities at this time, where his other ego, who's not as over the top or manic, when you get that, like, oh, it is brilliant. But those moments are few far between because he's most of the time trying to match the Jim Carrey energy. And I'm like, please stop. And with that, I will also say what doesn't hold up is their depiction of some of these mental health conditions, especially multiple personality or dissociative identity, because every time it's portrayed in movies, it's usually this person's a bad guy. Like, no, really bad. Like, they're going to kill someone. And that's not the case with quite a few people that have this extremely rare condition. It's not something that is very common, but they're not out there being criminal masterminds killing people either.
Yeah.
So it portrays people with this mental health illness in an extreme negative light.
There is something we've talked about on the pod, some piece of pop culture since we've started this, where we talked heavily about dissociative identity disorder. What was that?
Split and Moon Knight.
Moon Knight. Yeah, that was it. We talked a lot about it.
Both of that movie and show both portray a character suffering with dissociative identity disorder. And it usually comes about because of something significant trauma-based. And, I mean, Harvey definitely has had some trauma. I don't know if it would lead to it or not, but you are led to believe that that's what has caused him to become evil / kind of good.
Yeah. What else? What else doesn't hold up for you?
So the brain drain machine.
Yeah.
So there's two fixes I have for this movie, because there's two things I think if you change either one of them, you don't even have to change both, but if you change either one of them, it changes the tone enough that this becomes a top 3 or 4 Batman movie. Mm-hmm. And it's either you get rid of Tommy Lee Jones and you just lean heavily into that crazy Tim Burton dream world, or you change the time period. You kind of go Victor Timely with it, and you go back to like World's Fair time.
Yeah. But why wouldn't you? Like, Tim Burton stuff's so weird because everybody's driving around in cars from like the 1930s and 40s.
Yes.
And yet it takes place in the 90s. And I'm like, what is this? They're driving around in Dick Tracy mobiles. Like, I feel like half the time I feel like I'm watching a Dick Tracy movie.
And so, like, you either completely change it, which there are Batman stories that, Elseworld stories in particular, that take place in different time periods. There's one where he's investigating the Jack the Ripper. So, and it takes place in that time period, and Bruce is living in London in that time period, and you could have changed the time period, and I think then you can lean into more imaginative ways of like technology being a brain drain. Although I will say, watching it, I'm like, even though there's not a machine that's like sucking your brain and feeding it into Jim Carrey's mind, I think our technology has caused a bit of a brain drain. And so, like, it might be prophetic, but just not the way it was portrayed.
For the time, it was super weird.
Yes.
But it fits with the Tim Burton-ish world because the Joker's big thing was like a gas that turned everyone into smiling zombie things, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't real clear what would happen to me. I think it would kill them.
Yeah.
It killed them, but they got the big fake Joker smile.
I feel the Tim Burton world, although it is, I guess, more serious than the campy Batman, I think it's just a step up. Yeah. It's a gradual progression. It's nowhere near like rigid, real world Christopher Nolan, Matt Reeves, Batman movies.
Yeah. Okay, here's what doesn't hold up for me. I'm going to start off with the end of the movie. Two-Face falls down into the pit, dies. Coin catches his lifeless hand, catches his coin. I literally laughed out loud. I was like, what?
That is what we call tremendous cinematography.
That's amazing.
And Marty would say that is cinema.
That is cinema. The dialogue in this movie, oh boy, especially any scene where there's romantic implications between Nicole Kidman and Val Kilmer.
Nicole Kidman, first off, her accent keeps coming in and out during the movie.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, she's still young and up and coming, although she has been in big movies by this point.
Not many, though.
Not many.
This is her biggest movie when it comes out at the time.
Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder was big, but like it was Tom Cruise's movie. Like this is the first one she can put on a resume and say, see, as a female, I can lead a movie. Not lead a movie, but I can be a part of a big blockbuster. She's like the Zoe Saldana of, this was good on her resume.
Also, cringeworthy, the very first scene they share where Val's Batman and Harvey's up in the skyscraper, and she's trying to give him like the criminal breakdown of his mind and the psychology of it. She, like, if the roles were reversed, this movie would have been canceled today by any stretch of imagination, because no does not mean no to her. Like he completely like shuts her down, and she keeps like touching him in his bat suit, which everyone talks about the George Clooney one having bat nipples.
Oh no, this is the first one with nipples.
And this one has the bat nipples until we get the new suit, and the new suit doesn't have it, which I'm like, Joel, you clearly didn't need them. Well, he'll tell you that he was inspired by the Greco-Roman gladiators.
Oh, he's full of junk. He did it like you know why the suit has nipples from the first scene with her and him.
Yes.
She literally runs her hand over his chest, and my eyes rolled out of my head. Because I'm just like, why would you need nipples on a bat suit, Joel? All I could think of was Robert De Niro in Meet the Parents.
Yeah.
Well, I have nipples. Great. Can you milk me? Like, nope.
But I mean, like, if the roles were reversed and Nicole Kidman had told Val Kilmer no, then proceeds to touch Nicole Kidman, we would be in a huge uproar.
Oh, she's battling Ted Lasso's psychiatrist for most unethical psychiatrist in pop culture.
Yes.
Oh, she's completely and utterly unethical. Terrible.
She does not care.
And she clearly has some issues herself. Like, she's obsessed.
Yes.
Weirdly obsessed.
But she admits, I tend to fall for the wrong guy.
Are you trying to get under my cape, doctor? You might try a fireman. It's easier to get their stuff off or something like that. I don't know. The lines were brutal. All the lines they're saying, I wish I could say that my interest in you was purely professional.
So I do kind of like when they try to tap into Batman's psychology breakdown and Bruce's. So I guess I should have said what holds up, like Bruce having flashbacks and Bruce having night terrors for the trauma of seeing Martha and Thomas Wayne get killed, which they do portray in this movie as well.
Yeah.
It's just a brief glimpse of it, but they portray it. That legitimately would be a part of him. That would be a part of his struggle, potentially. Not everyone that loses family members or parents at a young age experience it, but some do. So I applaud them for that. I do like how she tries to bring up some valid points, but when they're trying to do innuendo, it is a little cringe.
Oh, man. When she signals him with the bat signal, no, not clear how in the world she gets access to it. She signals him, but she's just trying to get his attention to, like, make out with him, I guess, which, again, super unethical. And then he's like, the bat signal's not a beeper.
And I'm like, thank you, Val.
I was like, oh, beepers. That was a thing. Oh, man.
And can I say I don't like this James Gordon?
You don't like Pat Hingle?
I don't.
How dare you, sir? Shocking Pat Hingle slander. Pat Hingle, character actor, mostly from the 80s, I think, but he's probably from before then.
But yeah,
he's not the best.
He doesn't hold up in this.
No. I really wish they'd have stuck with Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent, though, in Two-Face. That would have been amazing.
I would have been here for it.
Other things that don't hold up. I mean, Chris O'Donnell. There's a conversation in this movie where so Chris O'Donnell's parents die. The Flying Graysons.
The Flying Graysons, they meet their demise, and Bruce Wayne watches it all.
Yeah. And so he adopts him, or he takes him in, essentially. Maybe not adopts, but he takes him in. And
I feel they changed their mind halfway through writing the script about his age.
But there is a discussion between Alfred and Chris O'Donnell's character, Dick Grayson, about like, don't worry, you've done enough. I won't make a scene, so social services won't be on you. They're implying he's a minor.
They imply it, and then at one point, Val Kilmer is talking about a college kid. And I'm like, what the heck?
No, he is 25 when this movie comes out, but he looks all of 30.
I was going to say, you either need to cast younger if you're trying to get high school, borderline college age level, or you need to lean into he's an adult.
Yeah.
But
it's another one of those things. It's just like our conversation last week, where I think sometimes these studios don't really get it with the casting. Although I will say, for the Batman Forever's standpoint, I don't think they cared. So it's not that they miscast. They got he was a big deal.
Up and coming heartthrob.
Yeah. Chris O'Donnell was a big deal. All these actors in this movie are either big stars or up and coming big stars.
Literally, upon rewatching, I'm like, wow, they got quite the cast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all the Batman, after, so even the 1989 original, you've got Jack Nicholson as the Joker. He's like a huge star at that time.
They can't afford him. They give him the right to the toys.
And then the formula for the next three is pretty clear. You've got Danny DeVito. You've got two villains who are big stars in almost every movie after that. And then by Batman and Robin, you add, Chris O'Donnell, obviously, and Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl.
And fear not, Arnold Schwarzenegger makes an appearance.
Please. You're frozen.
Literally, the best part of that movie is the Mr. Freeze ride at Six Flags.
I'm going to say, listen, the quotes are corny in that movie, and I haven't seen it from beginning to end, but I enjoy those more. Freeze.
So there's Chris O'Donnell might have the worst line out of everyone.
Yeah.
And that is,
I think I know what you're going to say.
Holy rusted metal, Batman.
Yeah.
See, there's holes in it, and it's metal.
Yeah,
and he explains it.
Well, it's a callback to the 50s.
It is.
The old series where he would say, holy something Batman. It would always tie into whatever the story. It was very meta.
It was.
And this is their attempt at being campy meta.
And I'm like, no, don't do it.
No.
Don't do it. Stop, Chris O'Donnell.
I think we've talked fairly significantly about some of these, but deeper themes.
Okay, so mental health is played throughout the whole movie. Whether it is Batman / Bruce Wayne, the Harvey Dent, because for most of the movie, Harvey Dent in his split personalities is the focus for the villain mental health, and then Jim Carrey, instead of getting like thrown behind bars, he gets thrown into Arkham Asylum, and he somehow gets transferred Bruce Wayne's fear and mental state of, well, I'm the Batman.
Yeah, I will say this, with the villains in particular, you never get the sense that they're portraying them as evil, simply volatile.
Yes.
They're volatile. They're dangerous. What makes them dangerous is they're volatile and out of control. I mean, they kill people in this movie. I mean, they do damage, but you know what I'm saying? They're not Thanos.
They're
right?
not. So also, like, he uses mindfulness and mindful meditation, Bruce does. Especially when he has the flashback to the funeral scene. But then I love this Freudian slip of, I killed them instead of Two-Face killed the Flying Graysons.
Yeah.
It's, I killed them. And you see Bruce is still carrying guilt, and it's now being transferred to now Dick's parents, or Richard Grayson, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, they never really refer to him as Dick, in the comic books, but that's just what I call him. But he's referred to as Richard a couple times in this movie.
Yes. So then let's see. They talk about the thing that the Batman, the newest Batman movie, talks about. Revenge and vengeance.
It's a big deal with Robin.
with Robin and Bruce. They're talking, and Bruce tries to tell him revenge doesn't solve anything, and you'll kill them, and you'll be like...
It's a weird thing for Batman to say.
Yes, but he's telling him, like, you'll kill Two-Face, and you'll be like, there's still a void, and you'll transfer that onto someone else, and you'll keep transferring it.
Yeah. There's a thesis paper out there basically saying that Bruce Wayne is Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Think about it. Yeah, I mean, I'm dead serious.
I like it.
Michael Jordan literally had to make up reasons to hate people so he could play well against them.
He did. Some guy on the Bullets supposedly said something, didn't even say it, and then he goes off for 50 against
Totally
them.
made it up.
And then Jim Carrey, like, trying to become Bruce Wayne, even adding the mole. That was amazing.
How's my mole? Jim Carrey is, I mean, he's great in the movie. He's the best part of the movie, in my opinion.
Okay, so we might disagree, but I'll talk about that one, what's good. But I also will say that being able to share who you are and finding a sense of self-worth and purpose is played out through the Bruce Wayne story. If there's something this movie, I think, nails, and it gets overshadowed by the campiness, the Tim Burton-iness, it is the Bruce Wayne story. I actually think this is a phenomenal Bruce Wayne movie. It's not so much a tremendous Batman movie. You get some Batman, but like overall, you don't get that many scenes with Val as Batman.
Yeah.
But the Bruce Wayne storyline and the Bruce Wayne reflections and like him finally being able to share with someone, which he does try to share at the circus. He says, I'm the Batman, but there's too many people yelling. And I'm like, he admitted it.
Oh, by the way, even with people screaming and yelling, surely someone next to him would have heard that.
This guy
just said he's the Batman. Nicole Kidman's right next to him. She didn't hear that?
Nope, she didn't.
We heard it.
I heard it. But yes, and so, I mean, them having serious dialogue and him being okay not being the Batman, because he literally was willing to just get rid of everything.
Yeah.
Toss it all away just to be Bruce. And I'm like, it took Christian Bale 3 movies to get to this point.
Let's do a fast recast. If they were making this movie today, remaking it, who do you recast in the main roles?
I honestly think you keep Robert Pattinson as Batman.
Okay. You're not going to change that up? I'm going to keep a couple of them.
And
known actors.
I think that you keep the guy that played the Riddler.
Yes. Yeah, I could see that.
And then Two-Face, I think you have to have an actor that can turn on a dime. And I'm going with Cillian Murphy.
Oh, that's weird. Because he's already been in Batman movies.
But not this universe. And he was a minor villain, but in all 3 of the Nolanverse.
I would actually stick with Aaron Eckhart's version of Two-Face. I really enjoyed him in that role.
He was phenomenal.
I did enjoy the Riddler from the Batman movie, even though he's a little not comic book like it, but and definitely different than what this movie was portraying. My 2 different ones would be Bruce and Batman. What about Ben Barnes? I like Ben Barnes. He's been in many things, among which were the Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian. He was Prince Caspian.
T-Mobile commercials.
Yeah, he's in a lot of the current T-Mobile commercials.
And he was in...
he was in the Punisher series.
The Punisher, that's what I was thinking of. Actually, you know what? Boyd Holbrook for my Two-Face.
Ooh, yeah.
Now
He'd
that I
be good.
think about it,
He'd be good.
Boyd Holbrook.
Yeah.
That's who I'm going with.
Robin, I don't even know, but it had to be someone younger. I think of like Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Someone much smaller, wiry. He might be too tall. I don't know how much he's grown, but I think of someone like Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things, the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie. Just because Robin is not supposed to be like Chris O'Donnell is just, he's too filled out.
So the guy that plays him in Titans, he's more narrow framed, and I think it works, but he also starts to age out real fast in that series, I feel.
Yeah.
Now my serious question, because this is my hot take. I think Val Kilmer's the best Bruce. Would you disagree with that?
Yes.
Who's your favorite Bruce?
My favorite Bruce?
Don't say Batman, because this is strictly
No.
casting for Bruce.
My favorite Bruce is Christian Bale.
Ooh, I don't think so. He's mid for me.
Yeah. That's okay.
I think that he
this
plays
is totally subjective or objective. Subjective.
I think that he might be the best for the combination of Bruce and Batman, but I don't know if he does either one the best.
Yeah.
I think that he's just in that upper tier for both, where the fall off for Val Kilmer as Batman is significant enough.
Can I say the animated Batman?
How dare you?
I kind of like that Bruce Wayne.
But no, Val looks the part. He acts the part. Like, he has a sophisticated aura about him. Even in this campy movie where he's given like these cheesy lines at times, but there's some serious lines in it. And he delivers it like someone that studied at Juilliard.
Yeah. Even though,
So that's my hot take, is that he's the best Bruce. And I think this is the best Batman movie pre-Nolan trilogy. Yeah. That's another hot take, because people will fight me, especially with Batman Returns, I feel.
Before we do winner of the movie, I have an honorary mention winner of the movie, and my honorary mention winner of the movie is Christopher Nolan. And then subsequently, Marvel Studios. Because without Christopher Nolan, there is no MCU. Christopher Nolan is the first person who successfully does gritty, serious. He takes it seriously. He takes comic books seriously, does the Dark Knight trilogy, and it's amazing. And because of that, the MCU exists. Like, I think they owe everything to the Chris Nolan Dark Knight trilogy. And as I was watching this, I just became acutely aware of that, of how, like, these movies were huge, but they were a joke. Like, they didn't take the comics seriously. The movies that took the comics seriously weren't successful. Fantastic Four had a couple movies, and they were okay-ish, but they weren't hits. Yeah.
They were trash.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, they tried. Daredevil with Ben Affleck.
Trash.
Bomb. Like, these movies were the big ones, and they were a joke. They weren't treating the IP seriously. It's Christopher Nolan that comes in and just nails it. So do you want to respond to that, or do you just want to get into winner of the movie?
I think Warner Brothers might be the force behind why the movies are the way they are.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'm not going to blame it. I'm not going to put it all on Burton and Schumacher.
Evidently, there is a Joel cut that this tone is a lot darker, but you can't do merchandising, and you can't have a rating that allows kids into the theaters in the mid-90s. So,
yeah. I'm totally willing to change my opinion of this movie if they ever release the Joel cut. Which apparently is a thing. Who's your winner of the movie?
I mean, I'm going to go Val Kilmer.
I knew you would.
Because, like, oh my goodness. Like, he's given dog doo-doo, and he makes fine art out of it. And, like, if you watch just his character acting, he nails it, especially with the Bruce. Like I said, I think he's the best Bruce. I can be swayed with our Pat with future films.
Yeah.
But yes, it's Val, although extreme honorable mention to Jim Carrey, because Jim Carrey is carrying the villain storyline so well.
Getting hated by Tommy Lee Jones while doing it.
And carrying Tommy Lee Jones behind around the whole set.
My winner of the movie is Nicole Kidman. So Nicole Kidman breaks through in 1990, Days of Thunder. She marries Tom Cruise. So she's in Far and Away with Tom Cruise, and that one's critically acclaimed. That's one of those movies that's kind of the first Tom Cruise movie that gets super critically acclaimed. Do you remember Far and Away? You probably don't.
I have blocked it out of my memory.
But then she does a movie called To Die For, which is sort of critically acclaimed. But then she does this movie, Batman Forever. So Days of Thunder only made $160 million worldwide. This movie gets up in the 300s millions. And that's no small thing. And this is where it's different for a male actor and a female actress, is that female actresses their movies, so the movie industry, and you can think of this any way you want to think of it. I'm just going to state the facts. Male-led movies are usually the ones that bring home the big money, and the female-led movies don't as much. So females, when they're in these big movies like this movie was huge for her, because after this, she parlays it into Peacemaker, which was a huge movie with her and George Clooney. Then she does an artsy movie with Eyes Wide Shut, but Practical Magic, Moulin Rouge. I mean, she becomes
Australia.
Nicole. Yeah, she becomes Nicole Kidman after this movie. The Nicole Kidman we know.
The movie cinema commercials.
Although I will say, I kind of enjoyed her in this movie, and I thought she's really pretty. And this is her whatever work she has done on her nose. And I just thought when I was watching this movie, she shouldn't have done that. She looked great.
I was going to say her nose looked different.
Yeah. You'd have to look hard at two pictures to really notice what she did. But I'm like, she looked great in this movie.
I thought her and Val had good chemistry.
Val looks great too.
Yes.
I'm not trying to be sexist, man. Val looked good. He had his shirt off in a couple scenes. You're like, man, he was in shape.
And
he was ready.
He looked more like a billionaire playboy than Michael Keaton. I will keep saying it.
That's true. That's fair. But I think Nicole Kidman is, after the fact especially, is the winner of this movie. Jim Carrey was going to be a star no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what happens in this movie. But I think this is the movie where Nicole Kidman puts it on her resume and says, hey, look, you put me in a movie. I can bring this. Yeah. Who's the loser of the movie, Cody?
I'm going to apologize to this person. I think it's my buddy Joel Schumacher. Because he then has to make Batman and Robin. And he also gets blamed for having two of the worst Batman movies. Although I really don't think Batman Forever is a bad Batman movie. Especially if you're just comparing it to the Tim Burton cinematic universe, I guess. He's pigeonholed by Warner Brothers. He has to put up with these big egos on both films. Whether it's Val and Tommy Lee or Arnold, and I don't think Clooney had a big ego, but I think someone else did. And so he has to put up with all these shenanigans. And then people make fun of these two movies, especially the bat-nipples. And then
so easy. Why?
And
why?
Then you learn that this isn't his original idea for these movies. He is being forced into it, and so he gets all the blame, and it really isn't all his fault. There's a portion that probably is, but not all him. Quit blaming Joel.
Well, I think on some level, as the director, as a leader, I think on some level, anytime you hear about a movie with big giant riffs between the people working on it, and one of them's the director, which apparently Val Kilmer and Joel Schumacher did not get along. Like, I don't know, man. That's bad. That's a bad look. Even if it wasn't him, even if it was Val going through a tough time and being a prima donna, it still looks bad on him. So I think that's a good pick.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready to hate me?
If you say Val Kilmer, we will have fisticuffs.
The loser of this movie is Val Kilmer.
Son of a gun.
He's awful in this movie.
No.
He's so bad. He's so dry. He resembles in no way the dude who was unbelievable in other movies like Tombstone, like where he embodies characters. He's so wooden. And frankly, I feel like some of the interviews I read about this movie back me up that he kind of mailed this in.
So I think you don't understand Bruce Wayne.
No, what do you mean I don't understand Bruce Wayne? I'm a comic book nerd.
I think if you are telling me that someone that grew up being raised by a butler who worked for Buckingham Palace and is fancy in all the richness is not going to portray himself as such. And
our Pat was a better Bruce Wayne.
No.
I said what I said.
That's wrong. I think our Pat's a good Bruce. I think I need another movie to officially declare it.
Yeah, he's a younger Bruce. Val Kilmer is an older Bruce.
And yes, because at this point, again, Val Kilmer's ready to hang up the cape. Yeah. Or Bruce is. And so now Val doesn't have the bat growl all the time. Like there's a couple scenes where it sounds exactly like Bruce Wayne, but then there's a couple scenes where, hey, I'm Batman. And like you get that. So no, Val Kilmer, like if you say it's because after this movie he doesn't get as many big roles and it's the beginning of the end, I might agree with you there.
I mean, Heat comes out this same year.
Heat comes out.
Ghosts in the Darkness next year. 97, The Saint.
The Saint is a classic.
That was a big movie. He's a voice in The Prince of Egypt in 1998.
No, he's not a voice. He is God and Moses in The Prince of Egypt.
He is the voice.
He is
Put
the
some respect
voice.
on his name.
Hallelujah. And he's also in Alexander. So I'm like, you can say that it might be the beginning of the end, but it's not the beginning of the end.
No, I'm not saying it ruined his career. I'm just saying, like, okay, I'm trying to formulate it as I watched it today. And when I watched it today, I was just struck at how bad I felt like he was.
Oh, I thought he literally was the best part, especially when him and Jim Carrey are interacting, whether he's Bruce or Batman. Those interactions are good. And then, like, when he's talking about the trauma and the nightmares, night terrors,
yeah.
Oh, he's nailing it.
Listen.
From the mental health background, he's talking like clients.
No disrespect. He is one of my favorite actors in a role ever as Doc Holliday in Tombstone. He's clearly a brilliant dude, but it makes, and I'm not saying it's all on him. I kind of believe some of the things you read that him and Schumacher were at odds. He clearly didn't want to be there because he didn't do the next one.
I don't blame him. I don't know how you have such a heavy bat suit.
Yeah.
Like even in the 90s, we had lightweight materials.
Yeah. It's very telling that this movie is a hit and then he doesn't come back. That's very telling to me.
Oh, yeah. And the next movie, although it makes money, it doesn't make as much money.
It kills it, though.
Yeah.
That George Clooney famously has said many times, I killed Batman.
He did. And it was
even though it wasn't all his fault.
That they brought him back. I guess in The Flash, it's a redemption moment.
No, it's totally Warner Brothers. It's a Warner Brothers moment.
Like, you had the perfect Thomas Wayne with Jeffrey Dean Morgan, you jabroni.
JDM! If you listen to this pod, you know JDM's a favorite.
Yes.
Okay. How many question marks, Riddler question marks out of 10 are you giving this movie?
6.
Whew, man, that's rough. I really hated this movie, Cody. I hated it.
It brought back all the 90s vibes.
I will totally accept if you liked this movie, if you were younger than me, especially. I totally get it. Apparently, lots of people like this movie, and because they made another one, and you know, if it hits you in a nostalgia wheelhouse, that's great. I thought it was just terrible, so bad. The dialogue's bad. They don't take it seriously. The dialogue, the Nicole Kidman, Bruce Wayne dialogue is just cringy. Jim Carrey was good. Tommy Lee Jones was that was a disaster. Just a disaster. I'm giving it a 3 out of 10, and I feel like I'm being given it something. Like I'm being generous.
I feel you are the harshest critic. You are the Skip Bayless of the Batman cinematic universe.
Yeah, I gave the Batman with our Pat like 8, didn't I? Like 8.5. I can't remember. We'd have to go back to that show.
I am so offended.
Okay.
So offended.
All right. What did you think of Batman Forever? How old were you, first of all, dear listeners, when this movie came out in 1995? How do you remember
in grade school, you know it was legit.
Yeah. How do you remember it? And have you watched it recently? Those are all interesting questions I'd like to hear answered from our listeners.
And if you want us to do a watch along to Avatar: The Last Airbender, don't forget to comment.
Yeah. All right. Listen, although we disagree about lots of things in fandoms, and this world wants to divide us by the things we disagree on and the things we don't have in common.
Especially Val Kilmer.
We believe at the end of the day that we're better together. And so we look for the things we have in common. And Cody and I love pop culture.
We do.
We love movies and we love geek stuff. And we hope you do too. And we hope you enjoy the pod because we're better together.
That we are.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Pop culture master.